The following program is brought to you in part by the film Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace.
Hi, I'm Leon Charney, and this is the Leon Charney Report. And we're coming to you live from Tel Aviv, Israel, where we have the honor of doing a one-on-one profile with Yitzhak Shamir, one of the most interesting prime ministers in the history of Israel, the second longest-serving one after Ben Gurion, a man who was there for the Madrid Peace Conference, a man who was there during the scudding of Israel, a man who's met all the presidents from Carter on, that's Reagan and Bush, and who knows everybody. We're going to get his insights. This will be a personal profile. A man who will tell you what Israel is going to look like with this new peace agreement, or if it's not an agreement, at least it's something that's been signed upon. And then he'll tell us what he thinks the future looks like. Mr. Shamir, pleasure to welcome you to our show, and we thank you for making time for us. It's a very troublesome time for you as an ex-prime minister who led the government for your second longest reigning prime minister in the history of Israel. I know you say it doesn't mean much, but it means a lot to a lot of people. Wow. Give me your feelings today about this Knesset vote that took place last Thursday.
Well, first of all, I welcome you, and I'm very glad to see you and to talk with you. I know about you. I never had a real opportunity to talk with each other. But you are right when you say that I am very, very unhappy. I'm very disappointed in these days. And I'm very worried, because I know where all this agreement could bring us, could bring Israel. My only hope is that these agreements will not become a reality, because otherwise we will lose, I don't want to say what, but we will lose. And I don't like, to appear on the outside world with criticism against our government. But I don't have any choice. When some people ask me, I must say that our government is wrong, is on the wrong way, and we have to replace it. There is no other way.
Is it a fait accompli, though? What can Israel do at this point?
I don't think it's a fait accompli. I don't think that it exists such a thing in politics that you cannot change. Things, down by people could be undone by people. And, but there will be damage, considerable damage. But I don't know any government that conducts a policy that is against its philosophy, its conscience. When, for instance, the Likud will come to power, it will not conduct the policy of the Labour Party. It's very clear. And I think they will find ways, my friends will find ways to change the situation.
You've had an illustrious career in this country. You were head of the Likud Party, and then you became Speaker of the House, and you became the Prime Minister. You know this country better than most people. You're sort of the eldest statesman in this country. Do you think that you can reverse something, an agreement that world opinion has, in a sense, committed itself to?
Yeah, I think as I said before, nothing is irreversible. Nothing is irreversible. If you will study the history of any country, you will see it. You can change anything. It depends how how much energy it will take, how much time you will have to invest in it. But I don't think that it is irreversible. I know the public opinion, of course, but the public opinion will see, I think, in a very short while that this agreement is not workable.
What is the platform of the Likud with respect to the Palestinian issue?
Well, I think we are still respecting the Camp David agreements. Maybe not all the details, but the basic roots and the basic foundations of this agreement. We are ready to accord, to give to the Palestinians in our country full autonomy, as Begin said, but not a state of their own. And what they are getting now, or what they will get in the very soon future, will be an independent Palestinian state on the same small territory on which Israel exists, and I think it's a disaster.
I believe that there's no doubt that there'll be a Palestinian state. I've spoken to some Palestinians who tell me that it's a fate. It's going to be absolutely a done deal. But why does not the Prime Minister tell this to the people?
Well, because he knows that the people is still against them. The people are against the Palestinian state because everybody understands that on such a small piece of land there couldn't be two independent states together. It was the view even of Kissinger. He said it once very clearly that it couldn't be on such a small piece of land an existence of two states that are not in love with each other, you know. Well, then Rabin, you know, says that it will be some structure, but not a state, maybe de facto it will be a state, de jure it will not be a state. Well, it's not clear, I think, and the Palestinians themselves, they want to have a state, and they are sure they will get it, and they want Jerusalem to have Jerusalem as the capital of this state. And you know, Jerusalem is a reason that could be a reason for an eternal war. Therefore, I'm sure that by this agreement, we are not going towards peace.
Do you think you're possibly going towards a civil war in this country?
I don't think a civil war, because you don't have among the Jewish people, the Israeli people, you don't have somebody who is ready to go to a civil war. We don't want to have a civil war, therefore it will not be a civil war, but it could be a war, a game between Arabs and Israelis. It's not peace, it's a war.
So you think basically this document that they signed is not a document of peace, but it's a document of a war in the future?
Not at all. It doesn't lead us to peace, because it couldn't work. It couldn't work. The Israelis, maybe from their side, they are ready to give up a lot of things. But the Palestinians, for them, they will not change anything. It's a stage in the theory of stages of Arafat, and is very devoted to this concept. Is getting what he could get, and he will try to get more. And this will be his policy all the time. His policy is not a policy of peace, and he even doesn't say it. When he has an opportunity to speak to his people, to his Arab friends, he speaks about jihad, about a war.
You were in the Knesset Thursday when the Prime Minister spoke to the parliamentarians, the Knesset members. he changed his tune. Instead of speaking about a greater Jerusalem, he said Jerusalem plus. Do you understand that?
What is it? Well, it's nonsense, nonsense. He speaks, for instance, against the idea of all of Israel, the entire Israel. Is the first prime minister in the history of Israel to speak against the idea of the land of Israel. The only one. We could in the past understand Ben Gurion and Eshkol and Golda Meir, great Jewish figures. And they've not been for the, not great Israel, but Israel couldn't be great. It's a small country, but not the land of Israel. And they said always, they love it, they admire it, but for some reasons of realpolitik, of for peace, for instance, we have to give up something. That I could understand, even not accept it, but to be in principle against the idea of all the land of Israel, this is really disastrous. Rabin was the first to say it. I think he will regret it one day.
Now, Rabin worked very closely with you, and I understand had a good relationship with you when you had your national unity government.
Yes, of course, but we've never discussed politics.
You never discussed the future?
Never. In daily matters, there have not been any difference of views. And he was very, very much interested in to be the Minister of Defense, and therefore decided to be with me in very good relations. But no, they've not discussed the future and not politics. Well, and there was this gap between him and Peres that encouraged me in those times.
Are you in shock, in a sense, by the behavior of Rabin?
No, I am not in shock because I don't. I am shocked by the attitude of the people. I think we have, of course, now. I am sure that half of the population is with my views, but we need more. We need more, and I think all the position of Rabin, all these concepts, are not logical, illogical. And I would say not honest, because it doesn't say the truth. It doesn't say the truth. He said once about the Golanites that he will not leave it.
Right, it's in a platform.
Yeah, in his platform. How could it be so that a prime minister says the contrary of what he said a few years ago? But well, I am not in shock, and I hope that we will find ways to change the course of history.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high. To have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Get the book that inspired the award-winning movie. Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels is now available in bookstores and online in paperback and an ebook for both Kindle and Nook. It's a great way to learn how history was made behind the scenes. Get it at Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. Be a witness to history. Order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon.com or buy it at Barnes & Noble and get the real story behind the making of the 1978 Camp David Accords. Leon Charney's new book, The Battle of the Talmuds, is now available as an audiobook. This wonderful CD can be ordered directly from the publisher for just $29.95 plus $12 for shipping and handling. Listen as this audiobook explains how Judaism's greatest scholars broke from their own history and gave spirituality to a people without a homeland. And you can also get the audiobook version of Leon Charney's bestseller, The Mystery of the Kaddish. Get a detailed explanation of one of the oldest and most revered prayers in the Jewish religion as Charney's book explains how the Kaddish evolved. Both audiobooks are available directly from the publisher for $29.95 each, plus $12 for shipping and handling. Call 201-944-7600 and order with your credit card. That's 201-944-7600. Immerse yourself in Jewish history.
We're back. We're speaking with Yitzhak Shamir, who's still a member of Knesset, but has said that he wants to retire from his parliamentary duties at the end of this term, and has not taken any committees upon himself because he feels that the younger people should have a chance to work in those committees. Yitzhak Rabin said some tough things about American Jews the other day.
It's nonsense. I think it's nonsense what he said. It doesn't understand the real situation of the Jewish people. The American Jewry is a great part of our people. We have to encourage it. We have to have a very friendly dialogue with them. And even if you don't agree with them all the time, it's impossible to have all the time the agreement of such a big population, but you have to understand them and to explain and to have a dialogue. It's not a way, to keep the unity of our people, because what the Jewish people, after all, we are not very strong. We have all over the world, we have 13 millions. Now, in Israel we have 4 million Jewish people.
Right.
It's not enough. It's not enough in this Middle East with such a great number of Arabs who don't like us. And I don't see them to like us in the near future. And therefore we have to keep this unity of the Jewish people and the American Jewry with such many possibilities, many qualities. I still believe and I hope that many Jewish people from America will come here to live with us. I feel it already. I feel it. And this will give to us a lot of strength. We need them. And to come to them now and to speak with them in such a way, it's not Jewish, it's not patriotic.
Speaking about America, the famous James Baker story where Jim Baker, the Secretary of State, tried to hold up a $10 billion guarantee.
Yeah.
This was during your reign of leadership. What is the real fact of that?
Well, of course, it was the decision of Bush. He promised the Arabs not to give us these 10 billions.
Is that right?
Right. He promised that. He promised the Syrians, he promised the Egyptians, he promised the Palestinians. And therefore, not to give it to us, until we change our policy, until we accept this concept of land for peace, or and I have never been ready to accept this concept. And this was all this thing. My claim was that even Carter, that was not the greatest friend of Israel, he said once to us, we have some disagreements. He told to Mr. Begin, but I will never use it for economic pressure on you. I will never do it. And he kept his promise, even Carter. And no American president did it. we got from the United States, I have not to give details, a lot of help, politically and in defense matters, in economic matters, and they have been always friends. And the first time when there was some blackmail, some real brutal pressure, was in the time of President Bush, and it was his decision. I hope he paid for it.
He did. He lost. How many American presidents have you visited with?
Well, not many. I visited. I know a person. I know Carter and
Reagan.
Reagan, yes, of course, Reagan and Bush.
Who was your favorite?
Reagan was extremely friendly. I love him.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you stay in contact with him?
Not now. Not now. It's impossible to be in contact with him now. I got from time to time, I'm getting some contacts with the Secretary of State, Schultz.
Interesting story about Schultz. The American community, Jewish community, was nervous about him because he came out of Bechtel when he first became Secretary of Foreign Affairs. And then he wound up being one of the most loved Secretaries of State.
I am telling about it in my book, And my first meeting with Schultz, we talked about this Bechtel issue. Bechtel, yeah. And he told me, well, he's working for Bechtel, he worked for Bechtel, but he's a great friend of the Jewish people and of Israel. And after we had this talk, a personal talk, he asked me, "You trust me?" And I told him immediately, every word of you.
Really?
Really.
It's in the book?
Yeah. And
the book is Yitzhak Shamir, called Summing Up. You can buy it in every bookstore in the United States. It's printed by Little Brown, and it's an insight into the memoirs of Yitzhak Shamir, which have to be a classic. So I suggest everybody run to a bookstore right after the show, not during the show, and pick up a copy of Yitzhak Shamir's book, Summing Up. It's a fascinating story with Mr. What's his name, Schultz. Now, on the other hand, his twin cousin, Mr. Weinberger, was exactly the opposite. Maybe he also worked at Bechtel.
Yes, I know. And there was always, a certain clashes between Schultz and Weinberger all the time.
Right.
And he was not a very good friend of us, Weinberger. But the term of Reagan was very good for Israel.
Tell me about your conversations with Reagan. Was he a very open guy? Was he?
Well, he was good. He was well prepared. We have not. We didn't go into details with him because he didn't.
He's not a detail man.
He's not a man of detail. But you have felt that he's a real friend of our cause.
Genuine love of Israel.
Genuine love, yes. He was a good friend and a real friend. He was, by instinct, he was with us. Then he could not accept some positions of us. But
he never muscled you.
No, never.
Let me throw another name at you, Alexander Haig.
He was always also very good. So it was very good. He was a friend of us. And but it was for a short time. I was secretary for a short time. It was replaced by Schultz. And Schultz was excellent. Together with Schultz, we have worked for the repatriation of the Russian Jewry, of the Soviet Jewry. It was a great undertaking. And, and Reagan and Schultz, they had a great part in their coming to Israel and the massive immigration to Israel. And I think they have a great part in the failure, in the collapse of the Soviet Union. They did it.
Absolutely.
They did it.
your feelings about people like Kissinger? Have you met with Kissinger?
Yes, many times. Many times. He's a lovely man and very intelligent, and I have not to praise him. Everybody in America knows him. But, well, he was never against us.
You remember the Yom Kippur War, I'm sure.
Yeah, but yes, in the Yom Kippur War, I was not in the government. It was in the time of the Golda Meir government.
Were you in the Knesset?
I was elected. Yes, I was elected in the Knesset at the beginning of 74.
So you weren't there in 73?
Yeah, this was in 73.
One of the issues that I've always had trouble with was the Scuds of Israel. And were you bullied by Bush to allow Israel to accept?
No, I was not bullied. I think I was convinced, but I cannot say convinced, but I understood the position of the United States, and even I spoke sometimes once I think with Kissinger. He told me that before the affair came up, that the Americans are very worried about it, that after the Americans have constructed this great coalition with the Arabs, it was for them very dangerous that Israel participate in this war actively, and by this participation it could bring maybe to a collapse of this coalition. And it was in our greatest interest to have this coalition sound and strong. And as I was sure that the victory will be on the side of the coalition, well, I decided that we will try to do our utmost to defend ourselves, but not to endanger the coalition.
Were you nervous that Hussein had nuclear warheads or something on his Scuds?
Well, of course, we didn't think that he has already nuclear arms, but maybe some means. But of course, after all, the results have justified our position.
Would you say that was one of your toughest decisions, in a sense, to allow?
Well, it was very tough, It was, and well, it was a matter of time. It took less than a month. Every day was like a year. And it was very, very responsible position.
Was it tough to hold back your military people?
I don't think so. There have been some military people who think otherwise, not many of them, but there was not a matter, some issue with the General Command. They've understood my position and they supported it. It was some questions with some people of the government, some members of the government, because it was the first case in the history of Israel that Israel doesn't respond to such an aggression.
Right.
And well, sometimes you have to be the first.
All right, we'll cut for commercial break. You talk about that in your book also?
If you want.
No, do you talk about it in your book? About the Scud, how you
yes,
handle Scuds?
Yes, of course.
All right, so if you want to know more about Yitzhak Shamir feelings during the Scuds of Israel, buy this book.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high to have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Get the book that inspired the award-winning movie. Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels is now available in bookstores and online in paperback and an ebook for both Kindle and Nook. It's a great way to learn how history was made behind the scenes. Get it at Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. Be a witness to history. Order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon.com or buy it at Barnes & Noble and get the real story behind the making of the 1978 Camp David Accords. Leon Charney's new book, The Battle of the Talmuds, is now available as an audiobook. This wonderful CD can be ordered directly from the publisher for just $29.95 plus $12 for shipping and handling. Listen as this audiobook explains how Judaism's greatest scholars broke from their own history and gave spirituality to a people without a homeland. And you can also get the audiobook version of Leon Charney's bestseller, The Mystery of the Kaddish. Get a detailed explanation of one of the oldest and most revered prayers in the Jewish religion as Charney's book explains how the Kaddish evolved. Both audiobooks are available directly from the publisher for $29.95 each, plus $12 for shipping and handling. Call 201-944-7600 and order with your credit card. That's 201-944-7600. Immerse yourself in Jewish history.
Part in it, let us hope that it will really bring a new time of prosperity and peace in all the Middle East.
What are your fears, Mr. Shamir, before the conference? Any kind of fears, hesitation?
Fears? No, I don't think about fears now. I don't feel any fears. Hopes.
Is there anything that would stop the momentum of the peace talks now?
Are you optimistic, sir?
If the Arabs will behave themselves like we, there are many chances.
How do you see your job, Mr. Prime Minister? What is your job as you go into these first ever talks
Well,
with
to
Arabs?
protect the Israeli interests and to strive for peace.
Mr. Shamir, why did you accept the 45 minutes additional speech?
Okay, thank you very much.
We're back. We're talking with Yitzhak Shamir, the former Prime Minister of Israel, who's given us some tremendous insights into some of the historical events that transpired during his tenure as Prime Minister and even before that. And we're continuing. Your toughest decision as a Prime Minister?
Well, I don't know, there have been many tough decisions, but I think there have been some tough periods. And this period you have mentioned before, the period of the Iraqi Scats, it was a very, very tough time. And it was not easy to take decisions.
No.
It was entirely not easy. And, but I think that my decision was right, and it was justified by the events after that. And now I think all the Israeli population, I think almost all of them acknowledge it, and I agree with it.
Your greatest accomplishment as Prime Minister?
Well, I think it was not easy. The greatest accomplishment was the immigration, the Aliyah, the immigration of the Russian Jewry. It was a struggle. It was a struggle for years. I was active in this struggle since the 50s. And, it was lucky for us to get the great support of the United States for this struggle to open the gates of Soviet Russia for the Jews to get out. And I think President Reagan and Secretary Schultz have worked for it very strongly and all the time with most of their energies. And they got it. And without them, I am not sure that we would succeed. But it was a great accomplishment. You know, it goes on. Even now you have 70,000, 80,000 yearly. It's not negligible.
What I notice is they're very well absorbed here.
They are very well absorbed because the special character of their people. You know, you have many men, among them many people with the highest qualifications.
Scientists,
many
engineers.
scientists, many good professionals. And well...
Where were you born originally?
I was born on the border between Poland and Russia. Now it's White Russia, Belarus. Belarus. Now I visited once there. My shtetl was this small place. I visited once now.
So it's got to be a tremendous internal satisfaction for you to see 600,000.
Oh, well, I am really happy about it, and I think it's going on. And we will have, in this near future, we will have, I think, 1 or 2 million of these Jewish people. And it's a very great source of strength to our country. Well, and I hope that we will have other Jewish people too. I think one day...
You told me that Americans are immigrating here?
One day I think some American Jewish people will come here and will invest their part, their qualifications, and we need them. We need them very, very hard.
You've seen a lot of people in your lifetime. You've read a lot of books. Do you have a historical hero, someone that you...
Well, many, you know. First of all, the Jewish heroes, you know, in the Bible. It's like people I've met yesterday, the King David, and his military commanders, you know, and well, the Maccabees.
So you were a follower of Jabotinsky?
Yes, of course, yes. And well, Jabotinsky was my teacher, my political teacher.
You knew him well?
Not very well, but I read everything he wrote.
His doctrines?
All his books, all that. He wrote a lot of articles of books. And well, on the outside world, it's curiously, I was a great admirer of Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong, I have not accepted, never accepted his theories, but he did something great for the Chinese people. For the first time, he gave them food to eat and not to be hungry. You know, I remember in my childhood, in China was always a flood of hungers, of epidemics. Famine. And when he came, he found a way to give everybody enough rice to live with.
So he was a great hero.
A great hero. And therefore I admired him.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high. To have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Get the book that inspired the award-winning movie. Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels is now available in bookstores and online in paperback and an ebook for both Kindle and Nook. It's a great way to learn how history was made behind the scenes. Get it at Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. Be a witness to history. Order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon.com or buy it at Barnes & Noble and get the real story behind the making of the 1978 Camp David Accords. Leon Charney's new book, The Battle of the Talmuds, is now available as an audiobook. This wonderful CD can be ordered directly from the publisher for just $29.95 plus $12 for shipping and handling. Listen as this audiobook explains how Judaism's greatest scholars broke from their own history and gave spirituality to a people without a homeland. And you can also get the audiobook version of Leon Charney's bestseller, The Mystery of the Kaddish. Get a detailed explanation of one of the oldest and most revered prayers in the Jewish religion as Charney's book explains how the Kaddish evolved. Both audiobooks are available directly from the publisher for $29.95 each, plus $12 for shipping and handling. Call 201-944-7600 and order with your credit card. That's 201-944-7600. Immerse yourself in Jewish history.
They had met before, but only on the battlefield. Each side fighting for land they say is rightfully theirs.
We say give peace a chance.
We, the people of Palestine, hereby offer the Israelis an alternative path to peace and security.
We have come for peace.
We've come here to seek together the road that would lead us to peace.
Peace in the Middle East need not be a dream. Peace is possible.
Today we have a unique opportunity, and it would be unforgivable to miss this opportunity.
Nobody said it would be easy, and it isn't gonna be. Hasn't been, and won't be.
The root cause of the conflict is the Arab refusal to recognize the legitimacy of the State of Israel. Show us and the world that you accept Israel's existence. Demonstrate your readiness to accept Israel as a permanent entity in the region. It will be regrettable if the talks focus primarily and exclusively on territory. It is the quickest way to an impasse. But not only are the Jews the victims of the Syrian regime. To this day, Syria is the home of a host of terrorist organizations that spread violence and death to all kinds of innocent targets, including civil aviation and women and children of many nations.
A way must be found to send signals of peace and reconciliation that affect the peoples of the region. Don't wait for the other side to start. Each of you needs to get off the mark and get off of it quickly.
Mr. Foreign Minister, if the war starts in the Middle East, in the Gulf, will you attack Israel?
Yes, absolutely yes.
They crossed the border. We all were in agreement. The brink comes at midnight. What would you do?
We were very conscious of the possibility that he might use chemical or biological weapons of some kind.
To actually watch Scuds hitting Tel Aviv, it was like a personal blow. It hurt.
פתאום בא כזה טיל על הראש של כל המשפחה.
Now think about it. You sit in a sealed room and you are waiting for the missile to come and you don't know where it's going to land.
It's not safe yet. It still has missiles.
The state of emergency in Israel is over. Israeli residents should pack their gas masks back into their original cases and store them at home. The residents are also requested to remove the seals at home or at work.
Have an opinion about Winston Churchill?
Well, he was a great man. He saved the world from the Nazis. There is no doubt about it. After Chamberlain got the majority of the parliament I think Churchill saved the world. Of course, with the help of America, all that. But was a great man.
Did you know Margaret Thatcher?
Yes, I know. I know him. I read her memoirs.
Was she an Iron Lady?
She's an Iron Lady. I wouldn't like to be a member of her cabinet.
All right, I know you're in a rush. We're running out of time. I want to talk about Baker in Madrid and then close this. Your opinion of Jim Baker?
Well, Baker was, well, I have not to say he was a very intelligent man and a very good foreign minister, foreign secretary. And he's a clever man, a clever man. I had the impression that he was carrying out the policy of President Bush, because I have spent with him a lot of time and I explained to him our positions. And I cannot claim that he was tricky with me, but well, he, on the other end, he played a certain role in the American policy with the Arab side, with all these people, Syria and the Palestinians and Egypt and all the others. He promised them, he gave them some promises. And they came to the Madrid conference because they believed that when it will come to the stage of the permanent, of the negotiations about the permanent solutions, America will be on their side. They hope that Bush will be the president all the time and they will support their views.
Would you say that Bush was pro-Arab?
He was pro-Arab, without doubt.
No question.
No question about it. He really believed that they are right. And he said it sometimes, and other Americans supported this thesis.
Were you, why did you go to the Madrid Peace Conference?
Because I wanted peace. I wanted to have peace, you know. We've been in this time in a very good position, a very good situation in Israel. And I think it was our quest all the time, the quest for peace, because peace is necessary for a country to develop its economy, to develop its well-being. Of course, I didn't think going to this conference to give up a part of our territory. I don't think it's a necessary price for peace. I don't know any other country in the world that is giving up its territory, even for peace. But I wanted to get peace, peace with the Arabs. Why not? We have to live in peace here, but not at any price.
My last question. 10 years from now, what will Israel look like?
Well, it depends. It depends if we will succeed to nullify these last agreements with the PLO. I think our situation will be excellent. We will have here 10 million of Jewish people, and even a bit less, and Israel will be a very important country in all respects. Economically, culturally, politically.
You see a good Israel in 10 years.
Yes, of course.
But you have to nullify that agreement.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Shamir, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high. To have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Get the book that inspired the award-winning movie. Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels is now available in bookstores and online in paperback and an ebook for both Kindle and Nook. It's a great way to learn how history was made behind the scenes. Get it at Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. Be a witness to history. Order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon.com or buy it at Barnes & Noble and get the real story behind the making of the 1978 Camp David Accords. Leon Charney's new book, The Battle of the Talmuds, is now available as an audiobook. This wonderful CD can be ordered directly from the publisher for just $29.95 plus $12 for shipping and handling. Listen as this audiobook explains how Judaism's greatest scholars broke from their own history and gave spirituality to a people without a homeland. And you can also get the audiobook version of Leon Charney's bestseller, The Mystery of the Kaddish. Get a detailed explanation of one of the oldest and most revered prayers in the Jewish religion as Charney's book explains how the Kaddish evolved. Both audiobooks are available directly from the publisher for $29.95 each, plus $12 for shipping and handling. Call 201-944-7600 and order with your credit card. That's 201-944-7600. Immerse yourself in Jewish history.